Okay, it's 8 o'clock, so we'll get started. Thanks for joining me tonight. My name is Dan Rothert. I run Top Student Athlete Recruiting. It's a small, personalized, one-on-one college soccer recruiting agency. I help college prospects, kids that want to play in college, men's or women's, find the right fit opportunities for them, help them target the right fits, both from a soccer perspective, like knowing the level of play and what level of play those I work with are at, but also the right academic, athletic, financial, social fits, location, anything that the student athletes are looking for. Um, you know, everybody's got different priorities. And, for me, the exciting thing is being able to help find the right fit priorities for each student I work with. So that's a little bit about me and what I do. I'm going to share my screen. We'll talk about things, but this is a webinar format. Through the course of this, you will just see me or my screen. You're not going to see everybody else on the call. It's not a meeting where you have to mute yourself, things like that. At the end, or even during the course of the webinar, you can type in questions into the chat or the Q&A at the bottom in the control panel there, and I'll answer those questions the best I can. We should have plenty of time at the end. If you do have a question, you might want to save it toward the middle or towards the end, because I may answer that through the course of the webinar. But that being said, if we're on a topic and you have a question that pops into your mind, or you've been thinking about something for a long time, feel free to throw it out there, and I'll definitely answer that. But yeah, I work with Illinois High School Soccer Coaches Association. I'm an official partner with them. I used to recruit Illinois quite heavily in the recruiting process for looking for future student athletes, and so I'm very familiar with the territory. My wife's from Chicagoland. I live in Dubuque, Iowa, so I'm 3 hours away from Chicago right now on the Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin border. But I'm in Chicago and Illinois a ton. I work with a lot of student athletes in Illinois. But again, I help high school student athletes get recruited to play college soccer, right? My goal is to help them find a place where they can maximize their potential academically and athletically and grow as a person, all right? Help maximize exposure by, like I said, knowing what to target and knowing good fit opportunities, but also using my connections to open doors. Help save money on college costs, knowing how to navigate financial aid and scholarshiping. We're going to talk about that today, some scholarship stuff, and just reducing stress in the process as a whole for prospects and their families. I'm different than other services out there. I go see every player I work with play personally, so I know exactly the type of player I'm recommending, in addition to helping them through the process. So as I share my screen here, if I can get to that. Hopefully you can be able to see the screen. So if you ever have questions and I don't answer them, or there's something you don't want to answer in the chat, you can email me, you can text me, you can go to my website, and I'll certainly help you through that. But I was the college soccer coach. I coached for 24 years in college soccer, men's and women's. I coached in upstate New York for a while, a couple of years. And then most of my experience is at Loras College in Dubuque, here where I live currently. I was the head men's and women's coach there. I was the women's for 17 years and the men's for 22. So had a lot of success on both sides, won a lot of games. I was also associate athletic director overseeing recruiting. So I was able to understand the ins and outs of recruiting even more, at a deeper analysis, not just in soccer, but from a financial aid and what the competition is doing and all these different perspectives as well. So certainly that is, I use that experience to help the student athletes I'm with currently. So the way I look at it is this, all right, college should be the best 4 years of your life. So it should be a place where you're getting everything out of college you want and more, where you grow as a person, and you graduate and you're on your career path you want to be on, right? And that school really made you grow, right? You maximized your potential as both a student and an athlete there. You grew as a person, right? Um, and then there's COVID complications real quick when I want to touch on this before we get way deep into it, just because this is the topic that comes up a lot. All right. And the reason I say this is you can't just go to every school that you want to go to and play. Like if you want to go to Stanford, you have to be recruited to Stanford. You can't force your way on their roster, right? If you want to go to Loras, it's the same thing, right? Recruiting budgets, have been cut because students, they have maybe not had enough as many students as they had the last few years. But really the biggest challenge with COVID is not just budget; it's the extra year of eligibility. You may have heard about this. Every player in college sports, um, any division, got an extra year of eligibility. So they're getting 5 years of eligibility, so they can come back as a fifth year senior, which is basically taking roster spots away from incoming freshmen, right? I see that changing and kind of fixing itself a little bit by 2026. That's when that kind of gets over because based on when it started and when they're graduating, this one class is 2026. That's the freshman this year, right? So it's a ways away before that's fixed. But I do think there's a logjam. There's a lot of kids that want to play, no matter what, whether there's this COVID thing or not. There's a lot of kids that want to play, and this transfer thing has been changed by COVID too. So now you can transfer. There's no have to sit out penalties or anything like that. And so now a lot of coaches are taking the fifth year senior, and they're offering them uh, just come here for 1 year, play for us, get your master's degree or start your master's degree, and you're gonna come in and make an immediate impact because you were a 3 year starter somewhere else, right? And they might take them up on that. So sometimes we're seeing some coaches who would rather recruit a transfer than an incoming freshman. Doesn't mean there's not opportunities. I'm not trying to scare you by any means, but you do need to be creative in this process and cast a wide net. You need to be open to everybody. You can't just focus on 2 or 3 schools that you think you want to go to and play at because A, you have to be good enough. B, they have to have your a roster spot for you at your position, and really be a place that wants you and you want them, right? So the more schools that you reach out to, and we're going to talk about that momentarily, the more opportunities you might have. You got to listen to everybody, hear them all out, and find the right fit for you. But I think recruiting takes persistence, right? You may hear no, you may hear nothing at all. All right. Some of you on here may have, reached out to coaches, not heard anything back. All right. You need to be okay with that. You might reach out to 30 schools and you only hear back from a couple of them. That's just part of the game. They may not need a player like you. They may not need anybody in your class. There was 1 year, and this was a long time ago, but I only graduated one player. I didn't really need anybody that year. So, how do you, get through that? Coaches aren't just going to email you back and say, hey, we don't need anybody this year. They just don't have time for that. They get a lot of emails and texts and communications from recruits. They're going to probably just be silent. Think about it this way. Recruiting's hard, right? Tom Brady was the 200th pick in the NFL draft. All right, if we use that as an example. People get it wrong too, right? They might not know you well enough. They go with trusted resources, right? They go with, okay, that we know that this coach really says great things about this player. We like that coach. We're going to go with this kid over this kid. Tom Brady, like I said, he went 200th and they have all the metrics in the world. The NFL draft, they get it wrong all the time. So how easy is it for college coaches to get it wrong? Very easy. There was so many times when I was recruiting that I would say, this is my best player coming in here as a freshman. And they weren't, 2 or 3 other kids were better, or maybe more better. And that player turned out to not transition well, didn't do all the little things, and they weren't as good as the other players. But it doesn't mean the coach didn't think that in the recruiting process. Going back, you're going to hear some no's, you're going to hear a lot of silence on the other end, and you have to be be okay with that. Be resilient. If you get some conversations going, that's the start. And then you can keep going, right? I think you have to have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, in this process. You have one or two schools interested, you want to get a couple more. You can still, once you have some schools interested, you can stretch it. Let's say you're only getting interest at a Division III and Division II level, but you really want to be a Division I player. Yeah, you can stretch it, and reach out to those schools and see if we can get, you can get things moving with them. But that being said, is if you're not hearing from them, you're probably not, somebody they're after, right? You want to try to be somebody they're after, but you don't have to. Usually, your voices tell you the right level. If you're getting interest from Division III and Division II, that's probably the level you are, right? Most of the time, but once in a while they miss it, or once in a while, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Every coach is looking for something different, and I like to say that, right? Every coach is looking for a different player. I had a player this past year on the women's side. She was getting some Division III and Division II looks. Was hoping for maybe some Division I, but was happy with some Division III and Division II. Actually, getting close to making a decision. And last second, one of her stretch schools, reached out, and we started a conversation, and she was able to get seen by them, and they decided to have her come down for a visit. She really loved it. And actually, this past weekend was the first opening weekend for Division I women's soccer. She was getting minutes, right? So, that was the only Division I that reached out. And that was late in the game. They needed a player late. So it can be confusing. It can be a challenging process. It changes on a dime. The game plan changes all the time based on who's showing interest in you, and who's not, right? So what do I do? I talk to college coaches daily. I'm on the phone daily. I'm telling coaches about players I'm working with, and telling them how they might fit into their program, and they could be good opportunities, and those types of things. So I want to talk about the myths and mistakes of recruiting. All right. First off, the myths, right? Soccer scholarships, is a myth. Soccer scholarships are usually partial. A full ride is very rare. We'll talk about that. Don't be saying you need an athletic scholarship, rather that you want the best deal on college, because I've seen kids who had a school that was giving them some athletic money, and they had a much better deal to go to a school that wasn't giving them any athletic scholarship money, because they were giving them money based on merit and other things that school had to offer. I have a player right now. He's got an offer at a really high-end academic on the East Coast, with some soccer money, and it's still going to cost him $40,000 a year to go to that school. Whereas he could go to a really good Division III school in the state of Wisconsin, which is a state school, and go for less than 20. So he's got to play that out a little bit, and make that decision for himself. What's the best fit for him? And then, because soccer scholarships are usually partial, grades are so important. All right, grades. I can't stress that enough, especially for you younger players on here. The school year starting, and I know it's an exciting time because soccer is starting for the boys. It's just an exciting time in general. But grades, get the grades. Start the school year off right. If you're a freshman, start your career off right. Get grades that really help bolster it, because grades can make a difference. And here's why. All right. We'll do men's and women's, but on the men's side, there's 204 teams playing Division I men's soccer. The maximum amount of scholarships allowed at a Division I school is 9.9. So let's look at it this way. It's not football and basketball where every player is either a full ride or a walk-on. Soccer can divide up that 9.9 any way they want. The coach can divide it up any way they want. And they get 9.9 for the whole team. It's not just for the freshmen, it's for the whole team. So average roster size is about 30. It's about a third scholarship per player. That's not a lot, right? But you can add on to academic money, and you can add on to other scholarship money you might be getting from that institution based on, your service you've done and leadership and your academics. So I had a player this spring. I was calling a Division I coach about this player, and I said, "Hey, I have this player." We were chatting back and forth about him. And the first question out of the coach's mouth was, what are their grades? Well, this kid had a 4.0. Top of the class, great student. And the coach said, awesome, because at my school, a 4.0 means they'll get 50% off of the cost. So 50% just based off grades, and then I can add 50% soccer scholarship. I have enough money for that position, and I need that player. I'll give them 50%. So now we're at full ride, right? Combination of athletic and academic. Now, if that kid's grades were barely good enough to get in, they might not get any academic money, and now it's cost 50% of that cost to go there for that student, or the coach has to give them more scholarship money, and that takes away from the rest of their team, and their team might not be as strong. So is the player worth it? Yes, our coach is going to give out some full rides here and there to a great player. Yes, it's going to happen. So that means at that school, there's only 8.9 scholarships for the other 29 players because they gave one full ride out. But if the grades are good, they don't have to give you as much. And typically, you come in on a lesser scholarship. If you go Division I and you get a scholarship, you might come in as a walk-on. They might say, we'll have you come in as a preferred walk-on. And after year one, if you prove your worth, like we think you will, we'll give you some scholarship money. They might say, hey, you're going to come in on 10%. And then after year one, if you prove yourself, you can earn up to 50%. Those things do happen. So each school goes at it a little bit differently. And part of it's how much graduates, how much scholarship money graduates, and all these things too. Division II is almost the same. There's 200 teams playing. There's 9 scholarships. There's some really, really good Division II soccer. And it may not be the school you've ever heard of, might not be the name brand you heard of, but certainly there's some great soccer at the Division II level. Division III, I coached at Division III most of my life. 400 schools, double anybody else. No athletic scholarships. All right, but they do have somewhat more substantial academic awards. So a lot of these schools, can compete, and they can. The school I was telling you about, that kid, the high-end academic school on the East Coast versus the school close to home. The school close to home is a really good Division III. All right, so those things are out there. There's the NAIA, which is the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. That is just a different governing body. It oversees all sports. They have their own championships, and those types of things. I'm going to sneeze, so 1 second, please. Sorry about that. Didn't want to sneeze in the microphone. So NAIA has some scholarship. There's some NAIA scholarships that they can give 12. I just saw an NAIA school on Friday night played a top 10 Division I team and tied them 0-0. So, there's some really good soccer at all these levels. Junior college, NJCAA, there's 200 teams there. They can give really a lot of scholarships out, and it's a lower starting point in terms of cost. It can be a really good opportunity to bolster if you weren't recruited to a higher level that you wanted, or the highest level you wanted to be, maybe you go to junior college for a year or two and increase your stock, or maybe you can't afford it right off the bat. It's a good way to reduce the cost. There's some really good junior college soccer out there. I referee college soccer now that I'm a retired college soccer coach. There's some really good junior college, NAIA, Division III, Division II. All right, it's not just the Division I thing. So all in all, on the men's side, about 1,400 teams playing. On the women's side, it's a little bit different, not terribly different. There's more teams playing. So Division I has 323 women's teams. They only have 200 men's teams. There's more Division I opportunities for women. All right, it's kind of to combat football and all the numbers of scholarships are given out there. And there's more scholarships. There's 14 max at the Division I level on the women's side. So if there's 30 players on the roster, 14, there's more money to go around, right? Division II, 250 teams, 9.9, so pretty similar. Division III is about the same as the men's NAIA junior college. So another 150 schools playing women's college soccer than men's. So that's a little bit about scholarships. If you have questions about that, feel free to type it in the chat and things like that at the end. Another myth, if you're good enough, coaches will find you. Most scholarship and most roster spots go to those that market themselves the best. That's the truth. Players who wait for coaches to come to them seldom get scholarships or even end up playing in college. You can't just wait to get found, right? You got to put your name out there. You got to send emails to coaches and tell them who you are. You got to give them your schedule when you're going to tournaments and let them know, hey, you'd like them to come watch you play, and those types of things. Let them know who you are so they know they can come out and recruit you. Have a really good highlight tape. I think that's a really important piece to the puzzle to help market you, right? You can't just send them, hey, I was all state, because guess what? All state means something different everywhere, all right, depending on where you're from. Coaches don't really care. They don't care if you're all state or any of this stuff. Those are all subjective. They only want to know, can they play at my level? And are they something I'm looking for? Your style of play needs to match up, right? You need to, if you're a possession type player and you want to be on a possession based team, and you send your highlight video to a coach that loves to shove it down the throat and just play long ball and go that direction, they're probably not going to recruit you. That's not the style of play they're looking for, right? That's okay, but do some research, watch some games, go see games locally. We'll talk about that, but also watch some games on TV too. But you can't beat the watching games in person. College coaches go watch prospects at showcases and events they know about and have relationships with. If you email coaches, most coaches will go watch you play, just to make sure. They're going to go under every rock and try to uncover every student athlete that's out there. It doesn't matter what club or high school you play with. I truly love high school sports, and I recruited high school a lot. You can get recruited at a high school, but college coaches will look at a tournament and they'll look at the schedule and they'll say, okay, at 8 a.m. at field 2, I need to go there and watch such and such. All right. And then at 9 o'clock, I need to go to this other field and watch this other player. Right. And they bounce around. They have their day scheduled based on who's reaching out to them and who they know they need to go see play. So they're not looking just randomly at fields and hoping they're going to find somebody. Now, they might find a player at a field randomly if you showed up and you played really well against the player that I was watching, right? And they're like, and then I might be, oh, I like number 3 out there, right? That can happen, but then you have to go find their email, find who they are, find their email address, get a hold of them, stuff like that. It's a heck of a lot easier to recruit the kids who have sent you their contact information, and put themselves in that spot to be seen, and so that you can respond to them. That's a big deal. Myth number 3 is Division III or NAIA, isn't that good. The division of school is a philosophical choice. There's not promotion or relegation. A Division I team didn't beat all the Division II teams to get moved up, right? It's a choice that the school made, could have been 50 years ago, that they've chosen to be that division because of, one, it's a financial decision. If you don't give out scholarships, your school makes more money per student. All right. You're not giving away tuition money. And then B, it's about a little bit about how much contact you can have in the off season. But all in all, they're all competitive. And it's not just Division I is better than Division II and Division II is better than Division III. There's a lot of overlap. The best teams are probably the top level Division I's. But like I said, this week, Friday night, an NAIA school that I know the coach there, they tied one of the top 10 Division I teams, 0-0. Great game. I watched it. Both had chances, and so there's a lot of overlap. Last year, the top Division II team played the top Division I team to start the year. First game of the year. The Division II team won 4-2. My teams would go play. We were Division III at Loras. We would go play Division I teams and win or give them a really good game. So there is a lot of overlap, and it's not like football and basketball where 7-footers or 400-pound linemen, make a difference. But there's an ego to it. I get it. Everybody wants to play at the highest level, and to wear the sweatshirt school on their sweatshirt. Hey, I'm going to this big name Division I school. But there's really good teams at Division I, and there's bad teams at Division I. And there's really good teams at Division III, and there's bad teams at Division III. There's different levels of support. My teams, when we would get at least 500 people a game, and lots of times a couple thousand people a game to come to our Division III games. We were one of the best teams in the country, but we had a really good following. We went and played a Division I team one time, and I literally think there was 5 people in the crowd, and they were all parents of my players, right? Like, there was no support. There was more people on the watching the ultimate frisbee intramural game across the street than there were at our soccer game. And it was a legit college game, in regular season. So just knowing that is important. All right, let's talk about the 5 major mistakes in recruiting. Here's a little video I have. Pretty sarcastic. I just realized you might not be able to hear that. So give me 1 second. Take me 2 seconds to change that. When I did that, I didn't share my sound. I apologize.
Or Duke. Maybe. Probably D1.
That's cool for who?
Either North Carolina or Duke. Maybe Wake Forest or State if I have to. I'm not sure yet.
Are those coaches at the game today?
I don't know. I haven't talked to them yet. I'm only a junior.
So how do you know you can play for them?
They all sent me letters asking me to come to their camp so they could get a better look at me, so they definitely want me.
That sounds stupid. They probably just want you to come to their camp.
Plus my coach said it's an NCAA dead period and they can't recruit me until after July 1st prior to my senior year?
That's stupid too. Of course they can recruit you. I have friends who are sophomores and are committed to schools already.
I'm not worried about it. My dad's buddy said I can play D1 for sure.
You are a tool. Did you even send them video?
No, I don't have any. I think my coach was going to get some and sent to some schools randomly.
That's a pretty stupid idea. I heard they get a lot of tapes sent to them.
I'm not worried. I was all conference.
You are a tool. Don't you think most kids who want to play in college were all conference in high school? Do you have good grades?
I have a 2.5, and that's all I need to be eligible.
You are getting dumber the more I talk to you. What if you can't get into a school with that? Or what if the coach prefers athletes with better grades?
But I'm really good. My mom says so.
Your mom is stupid too. Don't you even want to look at D2 and D3 schools?
I heard they suck. I'm pretty sure I could play at any D2 school that I wanted to.
You suck. You know there are like 15,000 high schools and 1,000 colleges, so only the best players in the country can play D1. Have you ever been to a D2 or D3 game?
No, they suck.
You suck.
Like I said, I've watched it a ton, and obviously, my buddy and I have made that, but there's a lot of mistakes there. He makes them all, right? But these are a lot of mistakes I see. Is it sarcastic? Yes, but do I see some of this stuff? Yes, right? So the first one, target the wrong colleges, right? You got to be honest with yourself and don't target schools that aren't good fits. Athletically, everybody wants to play Division I at the highest level. Many prospects don't know what that means. Division I schools are the ones you know about a lot of times because they're the ones you see on TV with football and basketball, maybe even soccer, right? Many prospects overshoot in the process. Go to college games, go to games in your area, or go to games when you're on the road at a tournament or things like that. Go see teams play at all levels. I think every player that I know that's ever done this, and the kids that I work with do that, they're always surprised by the level of play. Doesn't matter who it is. Academically, don't target schools that are above your academic rigor. All right, you may not get accepted. All right, and even if you do, you might not get the right merit award. You might not get the right financial scholarship, right, for your grades. Right, if you barely get into a school, you're not going to get much academic scholarship. All right, but there's another school that might be a tier down academically where you might be exactly the type of student they like. You can get a ton of academic money. I had the kids all the time reach out to me, and they couldn't get in. It wasn't worth my time or theirs. All right. So another reason I wouldn't maybe look at them. Financially, target schools that are going to be out of their price range. Look at the schools, look at the price tag, look at, do they offer, merit awards? There's schools out there that don't offer merit awards. They have enough, they have kids lined up down the street that want to go to school there. They have an 8% acceptance rate. Well, are they going to give out financial aid? They don't need to, because if they're going to get somebody that pays the full bill. That might not be the college for you. But if they have need-based financial aid, you're going to qualify for that. They have academic-based, all these different pieces. Those could be good targets. The experience. What is the overall experience? Is it a winning team? Is the area cool? Do you like it there? Is there a fun culture? You get out of college what you put into it, right? I think like you got to find a place where you can dive into college, and you really truly get out of it what you put into it. So many people think that, okay, well, it's the right fit. Yeah, there's a right fit, and I say that word a lot. All right, but a lot of it is how much you put into it. You put a ton into, dive into the school, the culture of that school, you're gonna enjoy it. All right, if you think there's grass greener somewhere else, you're not gonna enjoy it as much. So that's important in the process. Contact too few schools. You've heard a non-athlete can apply to their dream school, backup school, safety school, plan A, plan B, plan C, right? That's for non-athletes. If you want to play in college, you need to go where you're recruited to. You need to cast a wide net. You need to diversify your options, different divisions, academic rigors, etc. I have a player right now I'm working with, and 34 ACT can get into almost anywhere in the country. And, again, one of her priorities is financial. Well, at all these schools that she can get into, MITs and Harvards and these types of places, she's not going to get any academic money, because everybody at MIT and Harvard is a 34 ACT, right? That's just the nature of it. But, I've had her reach out to maybe one tier lower academically, where 34 is top dog, but most of the kids still there have 31, 32 ACTs. She's going to get a lot more financial aid. Could be a better fit. Not to say that the other ones aren't going to be the right fit, the final choice, right? But I want her to have options so that in the end she can compare the financial piece, the academic piece, the athletic piece, social piece, all these different things. Or same thing with that kid I was telling you about, the high-end academic school out east, and then the state school, back in Wisconsin, right? Those things can happen. So cast a wide net, diversify your options, listen to everybody. I mentioned it before. Prospects that contact coaches from a wide variety of levels have better results in the long run. And they very often find that their dream school is a place they had never previously considered or even heard of. I went to Loras where I coached. I never heard of Loras College when I was 16 years old. Never heard of it, right? If you ask me now, 30 years later, here's my dream school, 100%. I've told people that since, pretty much the day I graduated, right? That's my dream school. I don't know if there was a better fit for me based on everything I was looking for. But cast a wide net, Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA, see what's out there. You're going to get interest from a lot of different places. And the more interest you have, I don't want you to have so much interest it's overwhelming, but the more interest you have, then you hold the cards. Because if you have 4, 5, 6 options in the end, which is what I want my clients to have at least, then you get to make the decision in the end. If you only have one school that's interested in you, that's where you got to go. So I think it's important to go where you wanted. And again, you make your best fit. Have a false sense of security. There's a lot of awards and accolades. A lot of awards and accolades does not mean you will be recruited. All right. All conference, like I said before, all state. That doesn't mean anything because it's different everywhere. An all-state player in Wyoming is different than an all-state player in Illinois. It's just the nature of it, right? So coaches need to see you play. Coaches need to know, that they're out there. And again, there could be a player from a small town who's better than, anybody, but nobody knows about him, or, they don't know that all state is any different than it is somewhere else. So you got to get in front of coaches and play. College coaches decide if you're recruitable for their program. I mentioned this before. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. The coaches decide. No one else decides who's good for them. Playing style matters. What they're looking for positions matters. All these things are important in that process. What do they look for in this athlete? What do they look for in a personality? All these things. Camp invites, emails, and admissions meetings don't mean anything unless they are personal. All right, you're going to get a lot of spam. You're going to get a lot of these emails that say, hey, it might even have your first name on it because they got everybody's name from a tournament, right? They have to have some personal notes to them. If they're in the text form and they're a little bit more personal, they might, be a little more real. But it's important to understand that, just getting a camp invite doesn't mean you're getting recruited. Coaches make money on camps. We're going to talk about that momentarily. And we talked about it before. Coaches go to showcases, tournaments, and combines with a plan. Don't wait until it's too late. Recruiting doesn't happen your senior year. You get on radars your freshman and sophomore and even junior year, but you may not hear anything for a long time. If you are going to be a senior now, it's not too late. It's go time for sure. And then NCAA college coaches can't officially reach out to you until June 15th after your sophomore year. So if we have any sophomores on here or to be sophomores, you might get, June 15th is when a coach can start calling you. That's really only at the Power 5 level, the top Division I levels, and probably on the women's side too. So for the girls and young ladies on here, that might be a little more reality. On the men's side, I haven't very rarely heard of a player getting called June 15th of their sophomore year. Women's recruiting is about 15 months ahead of men's, partly because women mature faster, are fully grown earlier. So college coaches kind of know what they're going to get. On the men's side, it happens a bit later, so they're not quite as confident to give those scholarships and things earlier. And then expect your coach to help you, right? Like the ability of your coaches helping you in this varies. Everyone's coaches are different. Some high school club coaches are really good at it. Others, don't have any connections. And then, they're busy. They have other things going on. It's not their full-time job is to do that. This is what my full-time job is. I'm on the phone every day with college coaches, finding out things and helping my players through the process. When we hang up here tonight, I'm talking to one of my players who just got a Division I offer. And they want to know, what the next step is after that, like, what the timeline should be, and is it a good offer, and all these things. So, looking forward to that phone call here in a little bit. But ask your coaches what their comfort level is. Yeah, some might say, "Hey, I can totally help you. Let's do it," and others might say, "Yeah, it's not my expertise." Right? ID camps and showcases, are they worth it? All right. They're money makers, but they can be opportunities where coaches can really see you in their environment, and you get to play in their environment, which can help you out too, right? So there is some value to them, but there's different kinds, right? There's camps that are run by a third party that might bring a lot of college coaches in. I run some of these as well, where bring in a lot of college coaches and try to get them all in one spot and have a lot of student athletes at the same place. Helps coaches see kids and then maybe move the needle a little bit, stuff like that. That is going to be helpful to get on radars for coaches to know who you are and then see you play live, right? But not all the time. I think if the cost is right, it's about $100, maybe $125. And it's a one-day thing and it's 3 hours, great. But if you're paying for hotels, you're paying $600-700 for that, it's probably not worth it. Someone's making a lot of money on you. And, that might be out of the league, and it's not my favorite thing in the world. Once in a while, depending on the situation, where the player's from, some of those camps can be okay. But like I said, the cost has to be right. I tell everybody I work with, have a budget for camps. Don't go out of that budget. And then that's your budget for the whole year for camps, right? Because they're going to keep popping up. And you're like, oh, I want to go to that one. Oh, I want to go to that one. I want to get seen by that coach. Well, guess what? You want to, yeah, but if you're not good enough to go there and play there, you're wasting your time going to that camp, right? I had a player go to a major Division I camp last week, and they said it was kind of a bust, and I'm like, because the coach didn't really seem to care, and I'm like, yeah, they've already been recruiting they're not even looking for players your age. You should have called me. I would have told you that. So what is the return on investment? I have worksheets I give my prospects that I work with about this stuff, help them get through this. And then what do you do to maximize your opportunity when you do go to these camps? I do think that, as you get deeper into the recruiting process and you think a certain school is a place you might want to go and they need to see you play live, you probably have to go to get in front of them if you haven't been seen by them personally or the school is far away, those types of things. And then, which camps do you target? Those are all questions that can help through that process. Video is another, like I said, a really important piece. Highlight video, 2 to 3 minutes. Make sure it circles you. You can circle yourself on there. It's one of the things I do is make highlight videos. But it's an important part of the process, especially if the school is not, down the street from your house, right? They should know about you if you're down the street from your house. But anything further away, a little intro highlight video can go a long ways. I always say have a highlight video, but also have a full-length game video. Everyone's got these now with VOs and things like this, trace cameras. Have a full-length highlight video of a game you played so that coaches want to see the mistakes too, or they want to see, if you send a 2 to 3 minute video, that could be one clip a game from the last 15 games, and that's your highlight video, right? Because you didn't do all that great stuff, and then if they watched a full game, they'd see that you weren't their level of play, or they might see that you are their level of play. So having a full game tape can be really conducive to a coach really deciding if they like you or not. But you have to, hey, I'm number 6, I play the holding mid, in this video, here's a full game as well. So that I think that's an important part of it. Some other advice, be in shape when you go to events, camps, showcases, tournaments. Those can be a big deal. I had a player come up to me the other night. I was refereeing a college game, and the player said, "Oh, you're Dan from that. You ran that ID camp last winter." I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Thank you," because I wouldn't have ended up at this college without that night and going to that event that you held. But he came fit, ready to go. College coach found him. There's a fine line between the right amount of contact and being annoying, right? If you have something to tell a coach, you do. I think it's a perfect time of year. Start of the seasons, whether it's club for girls or high school for boys. Sending out your schedule right now. Hey, here's my schedule. It's coming up. Here's what I'm doing the next 2 months. If you can make it to a game, great. I know you're busy with your season. Is there something you suggest? Can I come out to your game? There's something to tell a coach. After the season, you can tell them about. If you haven't heard back from them, you can send them a highlight video of your season, or you can tell them about your grades or how your season went. But if you're just email to email and every week you send an email, just right. And then I put here right. I get enough communication from high school student athletes. They type it in on their phone and it's not in a proper grammar, or it's spelling errors, typos, things like that. Voicemail. Have your voicemail set up, because some coaches do call. All right. Check your emails. All right. And you have a 24-hour rule to respond to coaches. I think those are all important things. You respond quickly, you move up the list, right? You and 2 players are even. You respond faster. You move ahead of them. All right. Those things are important. If you go to your voicemail and it says your voicemail is full, how are they going to leave you a message? How are you going to know who called? And then check your email daily so that you can have that quick response rate, right? Those things can help. What's going to differentiate you? I talked to a club coach this summer before a big event, and I said, "How many emails do you get this week?" It was over 1,000 in a week. "Oh, come see me play at this event." How are you going to differentiate yourself in the crowd? Little things matter. Other common questions: am I good enough to compete in college? I think there's a place for almost everybody. I won't say everybody, because I don't think that's true, but there's a level out there. Like I said, there's really good Division I, there's bad Division I, there's really good junior college, there's bad junior college. What level is best for you? Obviously, like, that's one of the things I do is evaluate talent, tell people kind of where their ceiling is and what their floor is, and where they might fit into the mix. But not knowing what everybody can do. It's important to maybe ask a local coach to come evaluate you, not your club coach or high school coach. They sometimes have biased views because they see you every day and they love you, or they like you and they want to see you succeed, right? Or maybe they don't know the level of play. I think you bring in a local college coach and, hey, can you come evaluate me and watch me play? That can be helpful. But casting a wide net can help too. But don't just limit yourself to one division, right? How do I develop a relationship with a college coach of a program I'm really interested in? I think this is a good question. I get this one a lot, and I do think, it's important to ask straight up what's next in the process. What is the next thing if you're interested in me, for me to go to school, at your place? How do you move up the list in your prospect pool? If you're a good communicator, your value goes up. So, the magic phrase would be something like this: what can I do to be considered a prospect for your program? I'll repeat that. What can I do to be considered a prospect for your program? They might say, fill out the questionnaire. Then you fill it out, the online questionnaire. They might say, we need to see you play. Can you send us your schedule? And you do that within the next 24 hours, you move up the list, right? So just doing those things are important in the process. Email still seems to be, the lead way of introductory ways to communicate. I think partly because, a coach doesn't have to feel guilty if they don't respond. I think that's important. A lot of people ask me about social media. Certainly you can post things on social media. I do think it's a bit of noise until they know who you are personally and they're actually recruiting you. I don't think there's a whole lot of reason to post there. Like you need to post your video every week to get recruited. If a coach has time to go on social media every week and look at everyone's videos, more power to them. I don't know many coaches that have time for that. I think, you have to target it, and you have to be a much more targeted approach. Like you have to be reaching out to specific coaches and telling them, about you and who you are. Or you have an advocate that does it for you, and that's what I do. I reach out to college coaches on your behalf, the players I work with, and things like that. Again, if there's questions, feel free to type them in the chat or the Q&A, and I'll answer them here in a minute. But again, Top Student Athlete Recruiting, that's just basically me. I use my 20 plus years experience and connections to help prospects and their families gain more exposure, find the right fit, save money on college costs. My class of 2021 saved a ton of money, over $20,000 per client for 4 years, so over $5,000 a year, and then facilitate the process from start to finish, and help reduce the stress for everybody. If there are questions and you don't want to reach out, on the chat or the Q&A, feel free to send me a note. topstudentathlete@gmail.com. My phone number's here. My website's here. But if there are questions, feel free to answer them. Hopefully this was insightful to some level. Everyone's at a different place in this. And, I wish everyone that's starting their seasons, whether it's club for the women or high school for the boys, I wish you well. I'll be out to a lot of high school events this fall, and even some club events on the girls' side. So I'm excited to be out seeing a lot of games, and maybe our paths will cross. So thank you. Have a great night. If there is a question, I'll stay on for a minute or two just in case something pops up.